Well, a very good day to you all and welcome to Motorhome Adventures. We are on the road again. We've got 2 or 3 films coming out in the next few days as we're now travelling up north to one of our favourite installers, A&E Leisure. We're going to stop in at Belmont Hall for a few nights, so we'll do some updates on Belmont and any changes they may have made there. But there's also a film on the installation of full VB Air. That's going to be on a Mercedes-based motorhome. There's also a slight diversion for the channel in that a number of you have actually asked about levelling systems for caravans. I guess you might be lucky enough to have both motorhome and caravan, and have asked, you know, whether the levelling systems can be fitted on a caravan and how that works. So we've been speaking with A&E, who, as well as doing the Mercedes-based motorhome, have also got coming in a caravan. So we're going to show you some highlights of the installation of a levelling system on a caravan as well. We're going to have a look at some issues around upweighting, upplating of a motorhome. And as I say, a quick update on Belmont Hall itself. So 2, 3, might even be 4 films on the channel coming up. So good to have you on board. Check out the channel for those all those different films, and it's really good to have you with us. So journey up first. The pitter-patter of rain at the moment, but the forecast says it's going to clear up. Fingers crossed for a little bit of sunshine for the next few days while I should say, am on the road. So without further ado, on the road. See you up there. Well, that was a nice trip up, ended with a bit of sunshine, and we're back. A&E Leisure, one of our favourite mods places, and very much looking forward to a couple of days here having a look at a couple of mods that are going on. We've come here mainly because this beautiful van here is brand spanking new from the dealer, and it's an Alko chassis on a Mercedes motorhome, and this is having full VB Air together with 1 or 2 other bits, which will take you through the installation process of that. We'll get you up close and personal to all the fitting of the kit, give you a flavour of the sort of cost that you might be expecting if you were having levelling and suspension and the like fitted to your motorhome. And as of September 2025, it'll give you a real flavour of the costs involved if you came to A&E Leisure here, who have done some fantastic mods on our van, which we've been absolutely delighted with. The service we've had here when we first came here, right through to all the other modifications we've done here since, has been absolutely second to none. The team are great, as you'll see as we run through the installation on this. The latest of which is in evidence here, where you can see my front wheels off the ground with the HY4 levelling system working beautifully, as it has done for gosh, getting over a year now since we had that fitted, and a fantastic mod it was done by A&E Leisure here. So without further ado, let's get in the workshop and have a look at the work that's going to happen on this beautiful van here. So in it comes for its big birthday. What a beautiful motorhome, Mercedes based, as you can see. And for those eagle-eyed of you, might notice that it's an Adria on a Mercedes Alko chassis. In come the ramps. So this one is having the full VB Air kit. It's having the emergency inflation valves, which is if the electronic system fails. It's also having the auto level function, which is also an optional extra as well, so that unlike obviously me having a separate levelling system, because this is having full VB air, it will have adjustability for levelling within its system itself. So with the full VB as well, the amount of travel that you get, or lift that you get, or levelling that you get, obviously isn't as much as the range you get from something like the HY4 system. As you've seen, if you've watched our channel, you'll see that the amount of lift that the van gets is pretty large. At times really lifts the front wheels high off the ground, or rear wheels, whatever it may be. So you don't get quite that full range of movement from the VB, but of course the VB as a ride system gives you a really good and a very different ride as such, as well as the ability to level. So this is as well as being about a levelling system, it's also about an improvement in ride and handling. The VB semi-air that we had put on ours made a massive difference to the wallow of the rear end of the Fiat that we've got, Fiat-based Mobilvetta, and made a huge difference. And it's also the case that, of course, if you then add the full VB air, you get that even more impressive change in ride and ride comfort, with the addition at the back here of both the airbags, as you saw going on our VB semi-air Fiat, but also what will also happen to this one is that the shock absorbers will also be changed. So these are going to be changed as well. So you get on the rear, you get the change of shock, you get the airbags, which will be fitted in here, new swinging arm here as well will go in. So a real change around at the back end here. This job, as you can already imagine and foresee, is going to be a much longer than a 3-hour job. It's probably a 2 to 3 day job in total. Aaron and Noah will be working on it. So quite a complex job, but certainly a significant change in the underside and suspension of this Mercedes-based motorhome. Looking forward to seeing that all go on. First time we've filmed on the channel this system going onto an Alko chassis, and you can see this lovely sparkly new Alko chassis. And for example, we get an Alko chassis, and of course HY4 is an Alko product. You actually get, in fact, you see these holes here. These holes, if you were to have HY4 fitted on this, these holes here are pre-drilled and ready for the feet that similar to that we've got on our van to be fitted straight onto this Alko frame. So, you know, and already I can get the feel under here that there's a lot more space to work, and rather than the more cramped space that we had under our Fiat base. So yeah, so a lovely sort of squarer, boxier shape, this Alko chassis, than the leaf spring version that we had on our 2021 Fiat. And of course, look at how lovely and shiny and new it is. Not much road dirt under that. And then up at the front here, as we've just talked about, we're going to get airbags up there. But if, for example, if you were going to have the HY4 as well, which is an option, but not going onto this van, but then the HY4 legs would be fitted up into this area here. So yeah, some quite significant work going to go on over the next couple of days that we'll take you through. So for those of you that haven't yet been to A&E Leisure, just a quick look while we got a break in proceedings. You can see they've got signs on a number. They've just acquired another one here, and then over the other side you can see A&E Leisure over there. So a lot of these are obviously workshops for caravans, for motorhomes, but there is also the shop as well here. So let me also show you a couple of things in there, just to give you a flavour of whether it's worth a day out to A&E Leisure to go and have a browse of their bits and pieces, talk about your van mods or your caravan mods that you need, and have a look at some of this stuff that they sell. So let me give you a quick look at the shop as well while we've got a break. So whether it be, for from chairs, or look at some of this stuff. Absolute monster of a compressor cooler there, 94 litres. That's a Dometic product. There's the smaller version, the 55, so about half the size. And then they also stock the Igloo range as well. Different size igloos there. Right up to the 59 and even a 78 there, albeit the Dometic is clearly winning the race there in terms of size. So certainly a few of those on show. A great range of other little bits and pieces for your kitchen or galley area, or of course if you're camping, they do sell tents here as well, and therefore there is equipment for camping in the great outdoors. One thing which I'll have to show you in a minute, which is just around the corner there. This is all sort of melamine type material as opposed to China, so some really nice sets there. That gives you an idea of the different colour options there. Again, it's Brunner who make this particular set. If camping is your thing, then look at those. They are some fantastic little burners that they've got here. If you haven't got the luxury of a induction and gas hob. Of course, lithium batteries, plenty of those on show here. We've then got the bits and pieces that I'm sure you may have seen before if you've seen one or two of our films on the channel. Absolute wealth of knickknacks and bits and pieces. In fact, I had a couple of cupboard catches last time I was here, because we just know that these cupboard catches eventually just give up, which I had one or two that were getting a bit sad, one that had given up. So loads of bits and pieces, plumbing, caravan motorhome plumbing. You've got this security stuff, mirrors, all your bits and pieces of course for awnings or for tents themselves. All your gas fittings. Over here we've got all your essentials, cleaning fluids, cleaners, lubricants, you name it. That's all there. More cleaning equipment and gas equipment, aqua rolls. Here's some of your Wi-Fi. MaxView can also be fitted here. All sorts of ramps for your vans. Of course, awnings. A load of awnings, and of course they sell. There's a few examples up here which gives you a really good flavour of the sort of space you get if you're able to walk in and out of them and get a feel for the material. But they also of course stock all the ranges, and they set out all the individual items in each range that you can access from here. And then probably one of my favourite bits, which of course is the barbecue area. And the fantastic Kadax. With all those extras that you might need, from your pizza stone to your paella pans to your chef pans, you name it. They do a good bit of kit, don't they, Kadak? Look at the size of this one as well, which is up on the upper deck. The Club 440. Absolutely enormous. Blimey. It's like a detached house, isn't it? Look at the size of that. Wow. So, whatever you need, if you need a shed load of space, then you're certainly going to get that from this one. But also, of course, many others, as you can see, to choose from. Got a huge online presence as well, A&E Leisure, for all the extras that we've just had a quick skate through. So if you're not visiting, then check out their online presence. Really well set up with a shop, of course, where you can buy online and get it delivered to your door. But particularly with the awnings, nothing like coming, having a good look and a wander around inside to get a feeling for how much space you get and how well it's put together. So hence there's a few of them set up here, which is also a really nice touch from A&E Leisure. And certainly no shortage of chairs to catch your eye. And of course, not forgetting Avtec's range here. Right opposite the Avtecs as well, they've got another thing that caught my eye, which is a little Polaris Twin Air, again made by Brunner, the same people that made that melamine equipment that you saw. But this is a really smart little aircon unit that can, rather than go full 3 or 4 grand on a roof fitted one, this is a portable one which sort of can hook onto your window and be used as a more portable version. And of course, when you look at the price of it, 600 quid, it's a very different proposition from the several grand version that you might be fitting in your roof. So yeah, interesting option that. Not seen it before, and quite a nice little unit that, and certainly, having given it a quick run a minute ago, it throws out one hell of a volume of air, and it's very cold. So anyway, I think the team are going to be back on the VB full air. So that was just a very quick look at the facility here. Have a look online, drop in and visit, but plenty of kit and equipment for your every need. So here we go, here is some of the new kit. These are the new rear airbags, and then these are the torsion bars that go down inside, and this one's currently obviously got 3 torsion bars going into the axle there, whereas on the replacement it only gets 2 of those 3 back, and they blank off the 3rd one. That's because they put more reliance on the airbag and the shock absorber process, which shock absorbers aren't here yet, and therefore less reliance on that, and that's part of what makes this whole system then give you a smoother, sort of more balanced ride, is that it's working now on these airbags more than it's working on the torsion bar, so it's quite a complex system. And then we've got a similar but much larger front strut and airbag going on the front. Fan's all set up, lowered down onto its axle stands so that it frees up the axle and the wheels, so they can start the dismantling process of the original kit. And a not insubstantial bag of extra nuts and bolts. It's quite a kit. So the first wheel is off. Look how clean everything is under there. Wow. That is super clean. Handbrake sensor, and then I think that's the ABS sensor there. Look at that, despite its age though, it's already starting. Remember one of our other films we saw the difficulty that I had getting the disc off this central piece here, and you can see probably why, as even in a brand spanking new van it's already starting to go. You can see the 3 torsion bars there that disappear up into the axle of the vehicle, and though one of these is blanked off and replaced with just the 2 from the kit, as the reliance is changed more onto the airbag than the torsion bars. So disc is off, cable tied onto the chassis, and gradually starting the dismantling process of the disc. It's major surgery for this upgrade. Let's go and have a quick look around the other side. Yeah, this one's also coming on. if you've seen the other film where we fitted a VB full air on a Fiat, then you'll know that this certainly is a little bit different to the one that we took off the Fiat. Yes, that's where new is good for dismantling. So there's the first of the torsion bars coming out. You can just see down to the end of the where the torsion bars end at the back end there. That one's out, all dismantled from this offside. And here is the rest of the bits and pieces that will be going on. One serious jigsaw puzzle, the front struts and the integral airbags for the front. It's the second one there. What a set that is. Rather rarer than me. Wow, yeah, and before you know it, it's dismantled. And then the process begins to start to get the new kit into place. So there's the first of the new pieces of VB suspension going on. And the air pad, the airbag that's down there, that's the one that will come up to the underside of this as the new suspension is built. And the first of the red paint is out. These have all been torqued up, one just in there and then the first one there. So that one's all tightened and ready. So there's two of the torsion bars gone back in, the new ones, and then this third one gets the blanking plate, which is part of that process that I described of it more suspension reliant on the airbag that's used to be added here, and therefore one less torsion bar. That's the near side back in, with a liberal dose of gooey stuff. This is the new, one of the new torsion bars going in, a fiddly old process. And there we go with the blank plastic popped into the third hole. Just working on the near side now to get those torsion bars in. Ready for the blanking plate. There we go, blanking plate in. And then on the offside, Aaron's just got the, this is the ride height sensor, which is plugged in eventually to the part of the loom of the system there, and the ride height sensor, by very definition, lets the vehicle set to its pre-calibrated heights and enables you to choose the different height options once the system is commissioned. So this new swing arm piece then takes this new bracket, which is offered up, and this is obviously the base plate of the centre of the new airbag that will sit based on that, and then the top of it will be fitted into the centre up there. And then the last really important bit is everything's getting torqued up to some pretty high torque levels, as you can see by the effort that Noah's putting in to wind them up. and then they'll all be marked with red paint to indicate that they've all been torqued to the correct torque settings. There we go, there's the magic red paint to show they've all been torqued. I think it's about a 63-page manual for the installation for VB Full Air, which is sitting over there. So it's definitely a pretty comprehensive instruction book. But as with all instruction books, there are bits that still are a bit difficult to understand, as you can imagine. So there's the first bag offered up. Aaron's just popped a bit of air in it just to get its creases out that it travels with, and then eventually this lower piece here will locate onto the new base plate assembly before it will obviously then start to compress in the calibration process and get set ready for its job as the new suspension part of the full air. So all the discs being rebuilt back up, cap being fitted onto the end of where the torsion bars went. You can see the ride height sensor at the back there's all connected up now, and Aaron's just reconnecting all the disc system up. So the new shock has gone back in there, so we're gradually getting things rebuilt. And this, obviously this, once its weight bearing will sit in a much more sensible looking position. So plugs are going back in, ABS sensor there, this is the electronic handbrake. That's a good touch as well, that, just cable tied on, make sure there's no chance of this, you know, vibrating or coming back out again. Just really good finishing touches that was one of the main reasons that brought us here in the first place. So that's the wheel going back on, all rebuilt on the near side now as well. Just at the back there as well on the near side, this little sensor here, that's the headlight sensor, so that when the vehicle's sloping either under laden and the headlamps need adjusting, then that's an automatic sensor that does that on this Mercedes. Just the single one on the near side there. Good little feature on the Mercedes chassis. So the next phase, having done the rear end, is to start to get the compressor on. So this bracket has just been fitted on, as you can see, torqued up again and marked, ready to receive the compressor unit. And then additionally the air tank itself, that comes up into this void. So we're at the sort of front offside, that's the front offside wheel. And the air tank comes up into this void here, just close to the compressor. See the exhaust with its heat shield here, and some of the dreaded sensors. Oh, the bane of my life, these exhaust sensors. Well, they have been in the last 12 months. Yeah, I had a couple of these go on my Fiat, and what a pain they are. So there's the compressor offered up to that plate that was fixed on there, and with its massive wiring loom. And then Noah is just getting these two very fiddly little bits in there, which anchors the carrier for the air tank. Just a couple of points of contact there, and then up at the back. Some fiddly fixings to do. And we're only on page 23 of the manual. A few to go. So, and Aaron's up top starting to strip back all the access points where all the wiring looms come through to the control panel that will be fitted up in the cab space. And then additionally, Noah is prepping an area where the emergency inflation valves will be fitted. That's the option, you remember, where if the system for any reason can't automatically inflate, then you'll have some manual options where you can attach an airline to get air into the system. I'll show you that as that progresses up here. But what a clean engine bay, eh? Gosh. And that's Aaron just starting to pull through the wiring system. You can just see there at the back, you've got this sort of rubber gaiter thing which is near to the entry point up into the cab area, where more than just the new wiring loom heads, it looks like it's the path for one or two other pieces of the wiring loom. So there we go, that's the inflation valve set, and each one of these will now have a different coloured line coming from it, air line from it, which will then feed back down to the compressor underneath. So a bit more wiring wizardry being done. CAN bus module has been fitted by Aaron, which also involves taking a lot of this trim off, taking some wiring in through around the back there. So a fair bit to do on that side, and then more going on over the other side as well, to take some of that cabling work and start to get that wired in that came up from under the chassis in that wiring loom that you saw underneath. So Noah's just been finishing off that emergency valve set, brought the cables down through from the engine bay down underneath here, and this is them being conduited, the 4 different coloured air pipes that I mentioned, which are heading back of course towards the compressor here. And there we go, there's the top end. The 4 different coloured pipes there connected and then disappearing off in the conduit to where you've just seen us seen Noah working underneath the van. Onto the front off side, wheel off, and we're just getting this coil spring compressor on so that the spring can be closed up, which allows it to then be eventually released from its housing there after some of the bolts are released, ready for the replacement. Which comes with obviously the integral airbag that we've looked at on the bench over there. So, the next phase. So, out comes the offside front strut. Quite an operation to get those out. And then the new one ready to locate. Back in. So in goes the new airbag version. So it's just introducing a bit of air into it to get it to relocate. As you can see, it's just going down there.
Hold it. Yep.
There we go. New one in.
Lovely.
Bit of a tap.
All the way up there. Yeah.
It's all seated now correctly here. So that's the bulk of the work in here done before the final tightening and torquing up of the bolts. So pretty good progress. Near side wheel to do, and then it'll be just finishing off all that underside, and of course not least the wiring looms into the cab area and the control unit. So over this side, the driver's side of the van, under the seat's been disconnected, loosened off, propped up with some wood supports while Aaron works underneath to add the 2 fuses that are required for the system. So you can see he's building up the fuses and getting everything set up here. The fuse that obviously runs the system, the 2 fuses I should say, and then eventually he'll be going off under the battery cover there at midpoint to get the connection back to the battery, which is also quite a job. If I can get a little bit of footage of once that plate comes up, then you'll see how complicated it is under there. It's a right maze of wiring. So yeah, there's a fair bit to do. In here, and then of course there's the cable that will come out from underneath the seat, and on the end of which is the remote control for the system to access all your various settings that you have to choose from, which we'll have a look at when the time comes, when we're back on the ground and testing. And those other modes that I've just touched on are you've got like an off-road mode, which obviously lifts the whole thing up. You've got a park mode, which is the opposite, brings the whole thing right down to maximise the clearance you might get in a car park, albeit with something this big, which is probably, I guess, pushing the upper 2s, 2.8, 2.9 metres tall, then you wouldn't be going to too many multi-stories. But yeah, you've got the park mode, and you've also got a ferry mode as well, where those of you who've taken motorhomes on the ferry will know that as you go up those ramps, the overhang at the rear, if you've got the rear on standard ride height, is often inclined to catch as you tilt the van upwards. The very back of it catches, so ferry mode will just jack the back of the van up to its highest point, so that you don't get the tow bar or the back of the overhang of the van itself catching on the ground. Hence the term ferry mode. But even somewhere, for example, if you were to come in, in fact the route I took in came in a wide circle, and then as you come up this slope, as you come up that slope, then even coming up that, there's an inclination that with the overhang you might catch the bottom. As you can see, we're quite low there. So that's what the ferry mode, or with the VB Semi, the ability to lift the rear right up to its maximum height, helps to remove that problem. So Aaron's just got a standard air pump up there to where those emergency valves was, so he's just testing that should the system fail, in the unlikely event the system should fail, you have a way of introducing air into the system if you absolutely had to. Hence, of course, the name emergency inflation from those valves that run under the bonnet, which are standard tyre type valves. So he's just going to drop it on one of those valves, and we'll see if we get some movement, which is to test that that's working. Yeah, you can just see that starting to move there. Just, yeah, tiny bit of movement there as he's manually inflating the first of the front airbags that's been added. So after that successful test and check of that one, that's the wheel back on. That will get torqued back up. All the bolts around the back there have all been torqued up and marked, and they get all cross-checked as well. So it's a good system that, because there's Aaron and Noah are both working on this. They have a cross-check system where they make sure that all the bolts are done. They're all torqued to the right levels. Just see the red paint on that one there. And that's that's really good to see that they're going around doing all those checks, belt and braces, make sure it's all done absolutely spot on. So onto the near side, wheel is off, and just starting to dismantle the track rod ends and all the other disconnections that need to go on to get the near side done. And then once this one's on, we'll nearly be there. So we're about a day, just over a day and a half into the job itself, and depending on the type of job, it would be certainly a 2, possibly into a 3rd day in terms of the overall work. Because it's a new van though, obviously we've got a lot of very easily loosened off bolts that aren't seizing up and need drilling out and the whatever. So yeah, that's one of the advantages of working on a much newer vehicle. Hence occasionally time runs on when you get real problems with wheel hubs sticking and bolts sticking or shearing off, and yeah, there can be some difficult problems as a result of weathering perhaps under the van over a year or two that it's on the good old UK roads. So the compression spring's in, that's just managed to release it from its carrier there, and now Noah will just loosen off the top bolt to allow the whole thing now to drop out, ready for the new one. Some air in the bag, and that just helps to locate it back into the socket here. So there we go, so the new one is down into its receiver with using a little bit of air inflation helps to push it back in before Noah's now just rebolting everything on the back. So the last bit's gone in there. There's the ride height sensor, is this thing here, and that's what the van is calibrated against, and what, as the vehicle's in motion, continually assesses the ride height and works with the control unit underneath there to set the ride height and to set all those other modes we talked about, be it car park mode or off-road mode or ferry mode. The magic that happens. So some of the last bits going in there, all the connections made. This cover's now going back on, and then it'll be a case of tidying up the cabling that's coming through, but you can see you've got a little bit of air in those just to get them into their right shape, and then after that cable management it will be back down with the vehicle for final calibration. All tidied up, cable runs all done. There's our air tank there, and then all the wiring and associated cabling going up into the batteries up through there. All the cabling managed into existing runs there, ready to come down, and down it comes. If you're coming here for a VB full air fitting, you need to set aside at least 3 days. It takes less than that if everything is straightforward. But for the eventuality that one or two of the bolts become problematic or whatever it may be, then it's a 3-day set aside for the VB full air. And I think the time allowance is a good thing as well, that they allow more time to deal with any hiccups that occur. It means that obviously the likes of Aaron and Noah aren't rushed through the jobs with others stacking up outside and the pressure on to move. It means that they can double check all the work, make sure everything's neat, tidy, done. That unrushed approach is definitely a way that they achieve the very good standards that they do here at A&E, and that we've found with all the work they've done on our van. It's always been really well finished off, which is a big plus, and what brought us here in the first place, and certainly brought us back again for future work that we had done. And there's another very good reason why I don't attempt anything like this myself, because just getting the additional wiring fitted to the battery means taking off a lot of the existing wiring, and that is not a straightforward process. for me anyway. The cabling, there's a spare slot round about there where the new cable goes in, but to actually get to that spot to be able to fit it, all of these being taped up, disconnected, then all the clips that fit this piece of plastic down onto the battery itself, that's all has to be disconnected, which is what Aaron's doing now, just to get that single wire on. It's a huge amount of disconnection work to do. Seems crazy, but that's Mercedes engineering for you. So now it's calibration time, and get everything, start getting all the levels done and get the ride height set, which is all done from the wonders of a laptop. And yet more calibration screens, pretty complex stuff as the software does its thing. Okay, so you can hear that little low rumble. That's so we're in park mode at the moment, and you can just see it's obviously moves fairly steadily, but you can just start to see that movement now as the wheel arch comes up. So we're going from park mode, its lowest, and Aaron's going to take it up to off-road mode.
Yeah.
And you can sort of, you'll hopefully get an idea when you look at the gap between tyre and wheel arch, the sort of range of movement you've got, which of course is amplified as you go back towards the rear. Still going up. And it sort of does it in sequences, so it might lift the front, then the front pauses, and then the back lifts more, and then it swaps back to the front again. So that's why you're seeing it pause and then lift again as it alternates between front and rear. So there we go. That's up on off-road mode, which is a fairly significant gap now from where we started out in park mode. So that is it, job done. Coming out for its final test, ready for collection by the owner. And just as that's gone out on its test ride, another Mobilvetta's in. Gosh. And this one's coming for HY4. Another birthday present for a Mobilvetta. This one's the Kia P67. Good to see. So that was a good mod, wasn't it? That VB Full Air is a hell of a system, and got some great functionality and technical aspects to it. You can see those add-on modules as well. You get the emergency inflation valves, you can get the self-leveling stuff, so you know it's a great addition. If it's in your budget for the van, then what a fantastic upgrade. If you need any more information, suffice to say, drop any questions in the comments below, and if I haven't got the answer, I can certainly find out from James and the team at A&E, and of course, as I've said in the film there, they've got a really good online presence. Got some price information as well for sort of off-the-shelf modifications that we've looked at today, so as well you can get a price indication on there, and also of course they've got their online shop presence there. So thanks ever so much for watching as always. Check out the channel, there are plenty of other mods on there on different chassis. There's also other self-leveling work, other technical stuff there, together with of course our travels in Europe and the UK. So it would of course be great to have you along as a subscriber. If you haven't yet subscribed, it would be please do, and we'll see you again very soon on the next film. Take care and goodbye now.